Yes, really. Breaking news. The Vision's shot to shit. Oh dear. Hello all. Right, it's been a while. I haven't done a YouTube video since the Great Vision, I suppose, back in February, March, was it? Maybe April. It's obviously summer. It's August now in Scotland here, and in Scotland you've got a small window of opportunity to get out and get your garden done, and I've been doing major work in the garden. I've still got pathways to lay and drainage to put in, but that's coming shortly in September. However, tonight I've got an enforced bit of maintenance to do on the Vision. My Honda Vision now is a 2018 and it's done 19,300 miles. However, we've developed a big problem with it, and it's got a very noisy engine. I say very noisy, it's not very noisy yet, but when you ride it and it gets warm, it gets noisier. I've been through all the usual stuff. I've checked the cam chain tension out, I've taken all the transmission out, the drive bar out, the variator off, I've spun the engine up, and it's still noisy. I've checked the exhaust, I've checked all the usual stuff that people have, would go through and do. It's all been checked, and it's not that. The other reason I know it's not that is because I dropped the oil and there was metallic matter in the oil, and then I did a second oil change about 3 to 4 days later on just to have a look, and yeah, once again metallic matter in the oil. I suspect big end bearing, main bearing or small bearing on the crankshaft. I've had the whole thing apart, looking at other stuff like the camshaft. Everything looks normal, the cam chain looks fine. The tensioner was a little bit weak. I put a new one in, but it didn't really make much difference. So tonight it's 10:15 in the evening, actually 10:20, but we'll not split hairs over 5 minutes. I'm going to put a new engine in this bike. I bought an engine for this bike because I liked it so much and I've been using it. I bought an engine for a brand new one. I bought it about 2 years ago, and it's been sitting on the shelf waiting for this very moment, I suppose. And speaking to a friend of mine over the weekend, I said I've got another engine that I think runs, and I was going to do a will it run video, and if it did run I was going to build a new gearbox on the side because it didn't have a gearbox on it. However, I just don't have the time, and I'm using the Suzuki Bergman that I bought, the 400, which is very, very nice. But I want to get my Vision back, and I want to get it back before the winter because I just love riding this little thing to work and back. It's great. So tonight I'm going to put an engine in this bike, and that's what the video is all about. Stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, before we start then, just let you have a little listen to this engine. This makes us sitting outside in the CBF. There we go. Right, got the bike switched on. I'll let you have a listen. All right. Let's do it underneath. There we go. And the noise is coming more from the left side. And I've done all the usual, so I know it's not exhaust, it's not induction, an air leak or anything. It's nothing to do with the airbox. I've checked the whole lot. And as you can hear, it's not happy. Let's get it switched off. That is really quite noisy compared to what it was before. So, sitting over here on the bench, on my fold-up table because I need some more space, I have got this brand new engine. I bought this off of eBay. Apparently a guy went down the road on this bike and on this Vision, and within about, 10-15 miles he came off it. Luckily it came off to the right hand side. There's no scratches on the casing, and this is an absolutely brand new engine. And I said, yeah, I'll have the engine. 350 quid, delivered on a crate, and it's covered in dust because it's done nothing else. But it's got the coil, it's got all the fuel lead, it's got all the throttle bodies and the sensors and everything. It's got a nice new engine mounting. So yeah, let's get it set up and let's get on with this. I think what I'll do is I'll get the vision stripped down. Let's get the seat out and take the side panel off here that you need to do. What we do need to get at is up under the front of the bike, behind here, is the main plug for the alternator, the stator. So we need to get this panel off. The underside panel, I'm going to leave the side one on. Might take the floor panel off. Definitely take this and the seat out, and then we'll just see how we go. And because we need to get at this one there, which is the main stator, which goes up the right hand side. So without further ado, I should bring you back in. I'll get that stripped off and then we'll make a start. I'm hoping this won't take too long, a couple of hours. Let's see. Okay, after hunting for a bunch of keys, which wasn't successful, but it doesn't matter, I've managed to find a spare key for the top box. Plastics are removed. It's 10 to 11. Right, seat box is out, obviously. The one in front of the seat box, the one in front of the front wheel is gone. That's the one we got to get to. The main plug. These two up here I don't think we've got to touch, and these are fixed just a couple of places underneath, which is why I've removed the panel to the side here so we can get up underneath in there. Literally just clip them out. So the next stage then would be, I'm thinking we're going to disconnect the throttle cable, and then we've got to start disconnecting the sensors, take off the fuel line, and then we can think about jacking up the front of the bike, taking the exhaust off and disconnecting. Let's get on with some of this. Okay, so as I've invited you along, I guess I better show you some stuff we're doing. Got a little bit of WD-40 on the throttle cables just to loosen them up a little bit, and it's just a case of undoing these two bolts. Oh, that's a 12mm. Little did I know, it's actually the 12, because it just makes this job so much easier to get in here and undo these throttle cables with this tiny little spanner. There you go, just pull that one out over the top and then get in there. I don't know how much you can see of this now down the bottom here. We're under in the throttle cables basically. Yeah, he's loose. Alright, so we'll just take this one out. Yeah, it might help if you undid the other bolt on the other side, Simon. Anyway, I'm tired. Why I'm doing this at 11 at night, I do not know. Well, I do know it's time. I'm short on time. Just undo that one on the side. It's another bolt that just holds the throttle cable in place. That might now give me a little bit more leverage. There we go. Straight away, and we're through. Nice and gently take him out. Right, we've got the throttle cables out. Let's put them to one side. They can just sit up there, out the way. So the throttle cables are off. Because I've got a brand new fuel line on the other engine, I'm just going to disconnect it up at the fuel pump. We've got some sensors to undo. We've got to undo the injector plug, which is not a sensor, but it's a plug. We've got to undo the cold start solenoid, the throttle position sensor underneath it, the intake air temperature sensor, which is just on the front of the airbox. This one plug here is the crankshaft position sensor plug, and under there is a little blue wire with a plug, which is the O2 sensor, crankcase breather pipe, and yeah, just a couple of cable ties to remove, one here and a couple here on the engine, and then I think that's pretty much free. Don't forget the spark plug, Simon. Yeah, don't forget the spark plug. Very nice. Oh, well, that was tricky. I've undone one bolt, which holds the it's the bracket that holds the fuel pipe on. I've undone it because to get the injector lead out, you have to just undo that one, and then it will just come out from underneath like so. Yeah, that was tricky. I say tricky, it wasn't tricky. It would have been tricky just to do it without damaging the plug, so it was easy to just undo it. So I should now just pop that straight back in and undo these other sensors. Okay, I think we're almost there for all the connections. Spark plug, crankcase, breather pipe. Don't know why I've disconnected. Oh yes I do, because it goes to the airbox, of course. But actually we've got an airbox on the other one. That one can go back. Don't need that one. Obviously disconnected the injector, the cold start solenoid and the throttle position sensor, the intake air temperature sensor. I've pulled the inlet away at the minute because you've got to get under here to this plug down here, which is just my finger here, which is the O2 sensor. Got to disconnect that one. You've also got to get the CKP sensor, which is there, the crankshaft position sensor, and that's just, it goes under this inlet tube on your airbox, so it's easier just to pull it open so you can get in there. Throttle cables obviously, and I've snipped where the spark plug is fixed and where the engine loom is fixed at the back. I can show you that on this new engine. It's just over here where it comes in. You can snip them and just put a cable tie through. It's just as easy. Obviously this is much nicer and clean, and we haven't got a lot to do now. We just literally got to undo the engine mount at the front and drop it backwards. So let's jack up the bike, and oh, we've obviously got to disconnect the main one under the front of the bike, which is down under there, and there's a couple of little attachments just to undo for that main loom. Let's get that done. Okay, so the light's blaring in my face, but this is your main electrical power connector under here. I'm going to try and keep my head outside the camera, out of the way of the camera, and it's just literally slide it up. It's a brown connector. Push it at the bottom and just wiggle it, and it will pull and it will come out like so. There you go. That's actually nice and clean. Good stuff. And now just follow the cable along, and there's like little attachments that just push into the frame. Just clip them out. So that's nice and loose. That's what I'm going to do next. On the other side, we've still got to do the oil temperature sensor plug, and we've got to take the earth off as well. Plus we've got the speed sensor, the VS sensor at the back wheel, which we have to sort out as well. So we'll come onto the right side. I'll just get this unattached and make sure that cable there is free, and then we'll be good as gold. We can then start to work on the main mounting point to get the engine out. Right, that's the main power cable out. It was held by two clips, one here and then there's one. It's, as you can see my screwdriver, it's that white one you can see just there. Try and zoom in on it. There we go, that one there. So what I've done is I've clipped it off and I'll just feed another cable tie through that. But that one's out. Right, we've now got to go to the other side of the engine because the wiring loom is almost free. Everything's now laying in here. The loom here, it goes under the airbox obviously and comes out the other side. It's free. I've clipped it off at the main clamp up here, but it's still connected on this side of the engine, and what's holding it in, if I come down, is you've got the oil temperature sensor plug, which is easy. There's a couple of little bits that clips through here, and if I just go around the other side of the bike, under here at the back is the VS sensor, the speed sensor. That needs to be disconnected. We might have to take the airbox actually off and remove this cover to take the cable out. I'm pretty sure we do have to do that actually. And yeah, one last thing is the earth point down here on the left hand side of the engine. This one, the screen wire here, which we have to disconnect. My hands are filthy. I might have to go and have a wash in a minute. But the time is 11:30. We're doing all right. I'm going to quickly strip the airbox off because I've done that before in a previous video, and disconnect this VS sensor, the earth point, and that plug just plugs off. I'll get all that done and I'll bring you back because I think the engine then is free to come out. All we then have to literally do is, I'll probably remove the exhaust to take some weight off of it. I might remove the rear wheel, but I won't remove the rear wheel until we're rolling the engine backwards. And then obviously just got to undo the bottom of the shock, and I'll leave the top shock hanging. What I'm going to do to support the bike when I put the new engine in, thank you for sending me a text, whoever that is I'm going to move this stand. I'm going to put it up so that it supports the engine here, the frame here, and then we can just undo the main bolt just here. And I'll try and improve the lighting while we undo all this. Right, let's carry on. Right, got a lot of tools here. I've disconnected the oil temperature sender, taken the wire out, I've taken the earth lead off of the engine. I need to get the airbox off, so I've half disconnected the little fender that goes over the rear wheel. Let's take that one off. Just 2 little fixings for that one. That should just pull out, which it does. It's kind of free. There we go. Another lovely piece of plastic. Just chuck that on the floor. Right, let's get the airbox off. I've just had a turn up for the books, people. I've been umming and ahhing about selling the Bergman. While I'm talking to you, I'm going to get the cover off. I've decided let's get that part of the CVT out that we need. So yeah, I've been thinking about selling the Bergman. It's a lovely thing. It rides gorgeous. It really is very nice. It had a full service history when I bought it, and I bought it off a work colleague who was getting a cruiser, a big 1800. And I thought, all right, John, I'll have a bit of that, you know. And we agreed a price, and it needed a little bit of work doing for the MOT, which I said to him, look, don't do it. But unfortunately, I got to him too late on the text message, and off you come. And yeah, he'd already done it, so that was unfortunate. But we agreed a price. He had a little bit more on, and I was really happy with it anyway, the price. And it came with a year's ticket, and that was back in January. And when this went wrong, I've been using the Bergman back and forth to work for a bit. That might knock the camera, by the way. I'll just put it on a piece of wood. So anyway, I want an FJR. I want an FJR 1300. I really want one. Recently, I went to Skye. I went to the Highlands of Skye with the family. We didn't have enough room in the car. I had a bad back actually a few days before trying to get everything ready for that. However, doctor gave me some wonder pills and I managed to get myself back on my feet. And rather than do, I think I had 6 days, 7 days, we just did sort of 3.5, 4 days. And because there wasn't enough room in the car, the family went in the car and I went on the bike. Which was great for me, obviously, because I got to use the bike and have a bit of a ride around. So I'll just put this end out of the way, because I know how that comes off. Right, that needs to go in the other engine. And yeah, anyway, moving swiftly on to the conversation. And I love that, but I love the CBF. I just want an FJR 1300. I've wanted one for I've been on and off. I've been looking at. There's a guy at work's got one again, and I just thought, yeah. And I've been watching some videos, and I'm thinking that is the perfect bike for me. So to do that, I can't really just go and buy one. I mean, I can, but I just haven't got the garage space anymore. I mean, the CBF sits where the camera is now. I'm going to get a different bench soon, so I could just roll a bike onto there. But I love my Vision. I want that for work. So I'm toying with the idea of selling my CBF 1000, which only got 14,000 miles on it, and buying a bit of a higher mileage FJR because they just munch the miles. However, the turn up for the books, getting back to the long story I was talking about, is a guy was dicking me about a bit on Facebook Marketplace thing, whatever. What's your lowest price? Blah, 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 blah. Cut a long story short, I got fed up with it and just blew him out and said, no, it's too much hassle. He's just phoned me about 11:45, 11:15, 12 at night. All sorted. He reckons he's just coming to pick it up on Tuesday. We'll see. That'll be the Bergman gone then. And I haven't even reviewed it or anything on it. But there we go. This is why, hence, we need to crack on and get this done. Such is life. Okay, right, let's grab another socket. So I need the variator and I need the belt really. I'm going to use the belt again because that belt is only about 500 miles old. So clutch has to come off to get the belt off, and I'm just literally going to take the belt off and pop the clutch straight back on. Just take that piece off there. So yeah, my apologies if I'm a little bit flat tonight. I'm not usually my normal chipper, so I'm quite happy. I guess it's everything. I'm just constantly rushing at the minute and trying to get stuff done. Still have a nice new clutch now on the new one. I'm not going to tighten that up too much. Just like that. Good as gold. Right. I don't need that one or that one, so I can put them back on in a second. I've got my belt now. Right, let's put the cover back on and let's get the airbox off. That's the next job. So that's a couple of, what should we use? One of these. There we go. Let's finish getting that airbox off and then we'll put the cover back on. So we need to get at the sensor at the back. Oh, I'm dropping that now. We need to get at the sensor at the back, the VS sensor. I think it's the velocity or the vehicle speed sensor or whatever they call it. So we need to basically disconnect the multi-plug on it, the little plug. And to do it, I think you've got to remove this airbox, which, to be honest, I forgot about. It's all good fun. Right, that's the airbox. Voila. Right, I chuck that on the floor. Away. So, 1, 2, and we're in. That's that one. That's that one. Take the plastic cover off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect that piece of plastic now. There's the plug underneath. Pop that one off. And without removing that plastic too much, I'm just going to pop those, it's got 2 little clips that hold it in. So I'll just pop that in there. Pop that one through as well. Pair of pliers. There we go, these through. Right, we have our wiring loom. It is now free from the bike. So if I just quickly pop that one back on there with them 2 screws, because like I said, I am going to rebuild this engine at some point, and I don't want to get to the crux of it, get down to it all and realise that I've actually got bits missing on it. This little Vision, I mean, yeah, 19,000 miles, 20,000 miles, whatever. If I had to rebuild an engine every 2 or 3 years, it's still such a cheap way to get to work that you really can't complain, can you really? When you think what it's cost me in overall. Let's get a 12mm socket, and we've got to undo the shock absorber, and then the last thing to undo is just attach the rear brake, and then it's a case of undoing the bolt, pulling the engine back. We support the frame. I've got my usual. I've just realised I've recorded all that, stood up in the air, and you can't even see my face. So right, yeah. So undo the shock absorber, undo the brake. Throw me a bit that has now, and then the wiring loom is free. And then, yeah, I've got the handlebars tied up. We use the bike lift underneath the frame to support the frame, and we'll drop the engine backwards. Okay, ladies and gents, I've literally just lost an hour of my evening. Partly obviously doing this. This guy called me about this Bergman, and yeah, it's all sorted apparently. We'll see on Tuesday. And then my mate called me, or I called him, or yeah, anyway, we were messaging, ended up talking, and that cost me an hour. So what I've done is I've taken the exhaust off down there, make it quicker, taken the airbox off obviously, got the CVT case down there. I've just loosened the rear wheel, make sure it all comes off okay, it's fine. On this side, yeah, now the VS sensor, vehicle speed sensor is loose, the wire. The whole wiring loom inside now, you'll see, just moves. It peels back. You can just pull it out of the way, like so that we don't have a problem. And obviously I disconnected the oil sensor as well. So this engine is free it will just come out now without too much problem. All we've got to do is undo one bolt, that one just there, which is on the engine mounting. If we look at this engine here, actually no, we'll do the front one. We'll take the new engine mounting as well, and we'll put that one on, which is not this one here, what the engine mounts on, but this one here. Yeah, we'll do that. Right, we'll get that undone, and then we'll move the engine backwards. Just quickly, I'm going to quickly clear up the tools and put them to the front out of the way. I've now supported the body, the frame of the engine. Sorry, I supported the frame before I removed the engine, and I've actually strapped the handlebars up so the whole front will not move. It's secure, in theory. We'll see what happens. Right, let's get that bolt undone and let's get this engine backwards. I think it will move slightly backwards, and then what I'm going to have to do is probably turn it to the side, lift it out, take the wheel off, and then we've got to put the stand from this one onto this one and just do a few part swaps, and then get this one stood inside there and back in. Will I do it tonight? Maybe. We'll keep going for another half an hour and we'll see. Can't really do it against a sort of a timed type thing now because I've lost time on the phone call. But it hasn't taken me that long. It's taken me about, I don't know, an hour to an hour and a half so far just to get everything out with all these constant telephone interruptions and texts and everything else. But we are loose and just got that one bolt to go and we're out. Right, let's do it. Let's get on with it. Right. The engine is free. We're out. It's now sitting under its own steam, if you like, on the floor. So now I should just go back behind and manhandle it backwards and out. Not really a great amount to see here, but well, there we go. We'll give it a go. And if I've done the right thing with the frame, which it looks like I have because it's sitting still, then we shouldn't have a problem with this. Right, there we go, it's out. That engine is coming out. I'm just going to come around the front and I'm going to check I haven't got any wires snagged or anything that I've forgotten to take off, because you know it's easily possible to forget something, but no, that engine is now free. We're done. Okay, so there it is, it's out, it's done. It's amazing how little holds your engine in, really. I mean, it's just this little bar here. And I don't know, is it an M8, I suppose, an M8 or an M10, just on the shock absorber, which is there. And then a wiring loom. You see there's a fair bit of rust in there. Luckily only surface rust. Not too bad. I did most of the worst stuff on this one on them other videos that I did recently, and I put the new shock on and everything for the MOT. Yeah, there's your wiring loom. That's all that connects it. You really can't go wrong, to be honest with you. All the plugs are different and they'll only go on one way in a certain place. So, you know, anyone can do this. It's nothing special, really. It's just a confidence thing, I suppose. And if you've had a video like this, I don't make these as tutorials, by the way. People like to do a bit of wrenching on scooters and stuff, you know, and if you get a Honda Vision, you might have to change an engine. This might help you. That's the way I look at it, really. Like I say, I'm no expert, but I know quite a bit about this particular model now, and quite a few of the scooters, actually. Right, so I guess we'll take the wheel off this now. Take the stand off, get the stand onto that bike. I noticed there's a spring missing on the rear brake here that fits in here on the new engine. I can use the one on the old engine, it's fine, it's just a little spring return. And we'll take the brake pads out and put them in here with the same wheel, because the brake pads were brand new on this again about 300-400 miles ago. And basically just got to put the variator inside here, which I'll probably just do quickly off camera. And then for ease, remove the airbox, remove the fender, and then when it's got the side stand in, the centre stand, when that's fitted, I'll leave the exhaust off for now, probably one of the last things I fit, and then it'll basically be ready to drop back into the bike. I'm probably not going to do much more. I promised to take my daughter to the Fringe Festival tomorrow, and I'm not letting her down, I promise, because we actually booked some shows to see and everything. And it's 1 o'clock, but I fancy another quick half hour, and then I can have a quick shower and be in bed for 2. Because what I'd really like to do is get this engine leased back under there tonight, and then finish this video off maybe tomorrow night, and get everything back up so I can get my big bike back in the garage. Right, I'm going to crack on, and I'll bring you back in when there's something interesting to see. Right, CVT's all back in, done the clutch up, torqued it up, 49 Newton meters of torque, put the variator back in, torqued it up, 59 Newton meters of torque, everything's back in, all together. Let's get that stand done, let's push on. Right, ladies and gents, one stage stand is out. I've done the CVT, everything in there is done. Got the side stand, the centre stand out of the old engine. One thing that Visions are prone for, and I've said this so many times before, the pin that they go that holds the centre stand in, they rot. This was quite new, less than a year ago, and you can see the rot on it already. So you really, if you've got a Vision, get that pin out, get it greased up with some copper slip grease or something like that, you know, and keep it clean, and just grease it all up and put it back in. They don't do them on the PDI for some reason. I've had 2 Visions now out of, obviously, at the factory, and this hasn't been greased, and that's the problem. So I'm just going to grease this up, put the stand back in, attach it, and then get the wheel on it, and then we're ready to put the engine back in the bike. At some point shortly, I'm probably going to call it a night and then carry on tomorrow. Due to them phone calls, I've been a little bit delayed, but hey, that's all right. We've already got the engine out, and we're getting this assembled, ready to go back in. So I'm really excited because this engine looks absolutely, it is brand new, and yeah, it's going to be good. I'm sure it's going to be good. So right, I'll get on with this and get this done. Right, just to add a little bit of value to this centre stand thing, this is the one thing you really must keep greased up. As you fit this centre stand, it comes down, there's a hole here, and it fits this little stub of aluminium just here. Don't break that off, because if you break that off, you can't use your centre stand again. So when you're tapping it, trying to get it out and putting it back in, be careful. Don't turn it and twist it, because you break that off, you're in trouble. Well, you're not in trouble, you just have no centre stand, but there we go. Right, let's get the cotter pin in, and it's done, and we can move on. Okay, people, I turned the camera off there just for a bit, just to put the CVT together, and just get the airbox off the old engine, put the centre stand in, and get stuff like that done off camera. The pile is getting smaller because it's in. Now look, there wasn't much to see, and the trick I found, the easy trick to get this engine in, was to drag it in and get it up as far as you can up to the bolt, which is here. Obviously grease this bolt up and clean it up before you put it through, and it just goes straight through. However, lining that up's a bit of a pig, so putting this on the stand is good. Look at the state of my hands. I mean, a filthy day. Yeah, this bike lift has helped no end, because obviously it kept it at the correct height and I could adjust it. But what I found was, when that was tucked up as far as it would go, it wasn't quite looking like it was lined up. So I then come back to the shock. I put the shock bolt in lightly, did that one up to its 26 Newton meters of torque, and then that then made the engine, when you moved it, it rocked. You could then rock that into the position there, grease that up obviously, and shump straight through, and in it went. No problems. I've torqued all that up. I've torqued the rear wheel, that's all back in. I put the brake pads and everything back in. I've done the rear brake. I replaced that spring that was loose, and I've just put the vehicle speed sensor back in, put the cover back on, and now if you look inside the engine bay, I've connected up the crankshaft position sensor, which comes from under this cover here. I've connected up that O2 sensor, which you can see that blue wire now. And you really, like I said, you really can't go wrong in here. You just go around the other side, I'll show you. With connection up your sensors and your injector and what have you, all the plugs are different. They only go on one extra plug. And if you look at them, for example, this one, it doubles back on itself. That's a bit of a clue, really. It goes there. And this is a 3-pin plug. This one's a 2-pin plug. Well, one of these is a 3 and one of these is a 2. So it's easy. That one there is the oil one. It's a 2-pin plug, but it's got a bit more on it. And you can see 2 kinks in the wire. So that just ends up going down there and fixing in that little bracket, which is down here. You know, it's not hard. And the earth obviously goes on the earth point. That's the air temperature sensor, but it's pointing that way already. So once all that's connected, there really isn't too much more to do to sort this out. Before I run this engine, clearly I've got to do all the reset of the throttle position sensor. Got to check everything's done. I'm going to check the valves are correct as well and just turn the engine over. I also need to drop the engine oil because there is oil in it and it looks incredibly clean because this bike obviously did 5 miles, but it's been sat in my garage for at least 2 years, this engine, albeit brand new. So I want to drop that, and I also just want to check there's oil in the final drive at the back here as well. Again, it should be in there, but it's not going to hurt just to check it. So the time is now 20 past 2. I've even forgotten what time we started this, but that's a good night's work. I've just got to put the exhaust back on and now just bolt the bits and bobs back on, put the air filter back on and so on. But it's back in, and it is now just a case of slotting all the electrical connectors up and making sure they're all connected properly and everything is as it should be. I'm probably going to break off at this point tonight. It's in and I'm going to leave it alone now. Okay, it's 5 past 3, and yeah, when have I never sort of stopped on a job? I've often said I'm going in for lunch, I don't do it. I'm going in for tea and I don't do it. I just carry on. It's done, people. It's all in. It runs beautiful. I changed the oil. I checked everything. I did all the resets. Yeah, it's lovely. Let's just give it a little quick run. There we go. Apart from the vibration you can hear, which is something up the top there. But yeah, it's all finished. Runs lovely. It's very, very smooth now. That brings this to an end. I mean, I have done it in an evening. I would have done it a lot quicker had I not have taken that call earlier, etc., etc. But hey, that's another story. I've got my vision back. That's the main thing. Got a little bit of plastic to put back in tomorrow at the under tray. I've got the front tray to put in and the underside and the seat and that back in. That can all be done tomorrow. It's long past my bedtime. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a like. That would be nice. Subscribe if you want to. There will be more stuff. I will be doing a video on this engine. I've already bought parts for this engine, assuming that it's knackered. So I will be taking that apart and doing a rebuild on it. I got a crankshaft. I need a few parts for it to get it going, but apart from that, it's all ready to go. Right, I'm going to sign off now. No more waffling. Thanks for joining me. Like I said, like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this one, and there will be more in a future video. Out for now.